Hey people, I want to give my thoughts on this year's E3. Now I'm going to warn you, this video is probably going to be pretty Nintendo focused because I'm a Nintendo fan. However, I'm not a Nintendo fanboy. I own all three consoles and I like major franchises on all three of them. So, I'm not that biased towards Nintendo. I am a little bit biased, but I'm not a Sony or Microsoft hater by any means. So, let's start off with Microsoft since they went first. I thought they had the weakest conference. I didn't watch all of it, that just a disclaimer, I didn't watch the whole thing, so I'm not completely knowledgeable on it, but the biggest weakness I found was that it was way too Kinect focused. Like, you could tell they were really trying to push Kinect, both for the casual stuff and to try to convince hardcore gamers who have not picked up Kinect yet that it is something that will enrich their experience. And they did show off some cool stuff, like, I forgot what game it was. It might have been Ghost Recon, where you can customize the gun with, like, your voice, and, like, you were spinning around the gun and stuff. You'll just look up the video. I'm explaining it poorly. And that looked kind of cool. But they didn't really sell me on, like, the shooting with Kinect. Like, they showed the guy aiming, and he was kind of, like, holding his fist like this, and when he wanted to pull the trigger, he'd open it up like that, and it just doesn't seem like it's a viable way to play as opposed to just a standard controller, and it definitely doesn't seem better than a Wii Remote nunchuck, in my opinion, where you're actually pulling a trigger, because pulling a trigger and actually aiming something makes a lot more sense than opening your hand like this, like you're shooting a Dragon Ball Z Ki Blast or something when you're holding a gun. So they didn't sell me on that, but they did show off a lot of cool new features for the 360. And, like, they now have Bing on 360, now have YouTube on 360, and it's all voice activated, so you could be like, look up this movie, and you could download it there, and say play this movie, and then it will play it for you. And you can go straight to your TV now from the 360 just by, like, saying play live TV. And there are a lot of cool features that they just showed off, which were impressive, but they weren't like wow features for 360 owners, because when like the gaming population is watching E3, they want like the major game announcements. So this stuff was pretty cool, but it wasn't like, oh my gosh, this is so awesome. They did show off some big games though. They showed off Gears of War 3. I'm a Gears of War fan, so Gears of War 3 excites me. However, the footage that they showed of Gears of War 3 didn't exactly excite me, because it's not the first time we're seeing anything of Gears of War 3. It wasn't an announcement trailer or anything, and the stuff that they showed, did show this little mech suit that you could get into, which was new, and the game looks good. I'm definitely going to get it. I'm still excited for the game, but just showing that to us wasn't that exciting, because it wasn't like a surprise or anything. They announced a remake of Halo for the 10-year anniversary, I believe, and that kind of got me interested, because I never played Halo or Halo 2. I played Halo 3 and Halo Reach for multiplayer, and it's probably my favorite shooter series, but I only played the multiplayer because I didn't want to play the campaign not knowing the story of the first few games. So now that I can go back and play that campaign, that's exciting for me, and people like me, who just kind of like the series for its multiplayer but don't really know the story as well. It's a chance for them to experience it. I'm not sure if it's going to get the attention of a lot of the Halo players out there who already have Reach, because it seems to be using the Reach engine, so the multiplayer in that is not something that's going to pull people away from Reach necessarily, and the story is something they've already experienced, so is it really worth it when they know the other big announcement, Halo 4, is coming next year? So I don't know how successful it will be, but I found that to be a mildly exciting announcement. And Halo 4 is going to be big, obviously. Halo is a big franchise. I find it funny because when Halo 3 came out, it was like finish the fight, but now they're continuing the fight. So I called it back then that they weren't going to end Halo on Halo 3 since it's such a successful franchise. And they did Reach, which was a prequel, and now they're going and continuing the story that was supposed to be over. But it's cool. It should be a good game, and since it's coming after the Halo remake, you can tell they're probably spending a lot of time on it, and they didn't even have anything to show. They showed like a little trailer, but they didn't show any gameplay footage, which also, it's exciting to have it announced, but it wasn't like, oh my gosh, exciting in the way that we're seeing actual stuff from it. But overall, it wasn't as terrible a conference as some people are making it seem. It wasn't that good. It definitely wasn't that good, but I don't think it was that terrible. Now, Sony's conference, I think I started off watching it, and I was just kind of in and out because it really didn't hold my attention that well. They had some solid content there. They had Uncharted 3. I'm a fan of Uncharted 2. As 2 as well, not just Uncharted 2, the series. but I don't know, the footage was good. I'm still excited for the game, but it's kind of like the Gear situation. This isn't the first thing we've seen of Uncharted. It was announced a while back, we saw gameplay footage, and the footage they showed didn't really show anything new or exciting from it. It was just like, okay, this is Uncharted. It just looks like another level of Uncharted. And that was kind of a problem with both Gears and Uncharted. I think they both showed the first level of the game where things are starting off kind of slow. And I don't want to see the first level of the game, really. I want to play the first level of the game. If you're going to show me something, show me like a sizzle reel of like exciting parts of the game. But Uncharted 3 is going to be good, and it's going to sell a lot, and I'm definitely going to be playing it. They announced Sly Cooper, but they didn't have any gameplay footage. I never played the Sly Cooper games on PS2. I might go back and play them because I've always had kind of an interest, but that's probably exciting for a lot of people who were fans of that. But I think the big focus of the Sony conference was the NGP, which was revealed to be called the PlayStation Vita. And that wasn't much of a surprise in terms of what it was. It's a powerhouse of a handheld console. But the surprising point of it was that it's an affordable powerhouse. They're launching two models of it. They've got one with 3G, which is the more expensive $300 one, and one without 3G, I believe, and that's $250, which is the same price point as the 3DS. Now, since it's more powerful and is the same price, a lot of people were on the forums and just going crazy, saying, "Oh my gosh, Nintendo's doomed. Sony's just going to own them now." But I think it's still too soon to tell, because honestly, there are a lot of factors besides just the power at play here. Like the name recognition of the DS brand should help the DS in terms of the casual base, because the DS has a very wide variety of games and it appealed to a much wider range of people than the PSP did. So just by that alone, the 3DS is probably going to have a bigger just like buzz in terms of like the general public than the PlayStation Vita, which I personally think should have just been called the PSP2, but maybe they weren't trying to associate themselves with that. But they did show off some games for it. They showed off a portable Uncharted, which I believe is an original Uncharted for it, which should be cool, but it wasn't. It also didn't wow me. They demonstrated the controls work for it. They had this cool mechanic where you use the touchscreen and drag across it when you're climbing to just give Nate Drake the path that he's going to follow, which was cool, and they demonstrated the combat and how you use the touchscreen for that. So it's going to be a solid game probably, but I don't know if it's going to be a great game. Like, it's Uncharted, but so was Ratchet & Clank Quest for Booty, which was downloadable for PS3. Just because it's an entry in the series doesn't mean it's going to live up to the quality of the other games in the series. I don't want to sound skeptical, but the way they've approached PlayStation Vita, to me, with a lot of ports and everything, I don't feel like they're really trying to make developing exclusive content for it a priority. Like, they've got BioShock Infinite on PlayStation Vita, which is cool, but a lot of the people who are interested in buying PlayStation Vita are people who are pretty serious gamers and the people who would buy it for something like BioShock Infinite probably have a home console and would rather play it on that home console than the portable. So I'm not sure if that approach of just like porting several games that are on the PS3 to the Vita is going to be that successful for them.